everybody out there. I am your host. That's right, Jessica Catch, and we are back with Profound Professionals. It's the interview series that has been featured for 8 years. We bring to you industry experts from, yes, all over the world. They help improve your personal life or help you grow your business. Today, we have an amazing, a unique and inspiring, and oh, don't forget my favorite, funny guest with us today. So Jamie is a corporate and keynote speaker, a coach, and an experienced comedian. So she is my kind of gal. Infuse a little funny in everything you do. It's just so much better. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here.
Well, you guys missed the pre-show because we had all kinds of fun. I have tears in my eyes from all the fun that we had before we let you in on the game. But I'm so glad that you're going to get to enjoy hearing a bit of Jamie's journey. Share with us how you became this corporate keynote coach, speaker, experienced comedian thing.
Yes. So my early life was psychology and sociology outside of college. And I had a series of events in my life, loss events in my life. Oh. And I started out with, the best of intentions, as we all do. Mm-hmm. I was very young when my best friend was killed in a freak accident. And in my early 20s, when I was just getting started with all of my life, my mother died suddenly of a heart attack. Mm-hmm. And it was a very pivotal time in my life. And so psychology went a little by the wayside. And I said, you know what I need to do? I need to quit my job, break up with my boyfriend, sell my car, move to New York City and tell jokes in seedy nightclubs. So I became a comedian for close to a decade.
I can see that.
Came out of nowhere and loved it and had a very artistic sort of bohemian life for many years. But as the theme of my life, and I think the importance and the calling of my life, is that most recently I lost my sister to cancer. And that was my aha moment for myself. I had these 3 amazing, powerful women that I had lost in my lifetime. And I started doing a lot of soul searching and what I had done with my life. And I realized that over those years, I had incorporated those stories and even that sadness into my life in a powerful way. And I'm like, why am I not giving this away? Why am I not paying this forward and making sure I know people are suffering? I know that they are. And so let's figure out, let's stand up on stage, and instead of being midnight and everybody's drunk, I'll do it at around noon on a Friday and start empowering people. And so in the past 4 to 5 years, about 4.5 now, I've switched to public speaking. I speak to mostly corporate because I'm trying to tie that power idea into what grief can do for us. But I speak to educators, at-risk teens, really anybody who will listen, to be honest with you. So it's been quite a journey. But
you and me both.
Exactly. And I feel like all my worlds meshed. Mm-hmm. My psychology, my comedy, and then public speaking came together in this pretty gorgeous way. And I get to use all of it to communicate with people. So I'm really loving where I am in my life right now. It's
I am sorry for your losses. I tell you, I can totally relate. I lost when I had finally lost all my grandparents, and one of I was very close with all my grandparents, mm-hmm. but one of my grandparents, I was able to actually be the only one by her side at her last breath, and hold her hand through that transition. And I had a dear friend who I was just telling my husband yesterday, she should still be here, and she died from cancer. And, she was my friend for like almost 17 years. And she was my very best friend, and we hung out every day. She lived 2 doors down, we got up the crack of dawn and exercised every morning together and did all the things,
Yeah. And it's then you have to survive without them. And also for people to understand too, is that people hear my life story, but what's important for everyone listening and to understand is that we grieve in many different ways. Mm-hmm. Yes, people can hear my story and go, oh, well, I haven't been through that. But we lose jobs, we lose friends, we go through divorces. Mm-hmm. The pandemic was hard on people. And so there's so many forms that people grieve in. And I don't think people give themselves permission to find significance in something if it's not as significant as someone else's.
It's
Make sure.
fascinating. That's true, because I've been listening to people recently talk about retirement. And for some of them, it is a great identity loss. They were connected to the position they had and the
Yeah,
job that they did and the accolades and the team they managed. And then suddenly they had a retirement party and they don't know who they are anymore. And there's this great grief and loss and sometimes displacement of, now what do I do?
exactly. And what you talk about, I speak about in my speeches as well, is that once we lose someone, or the retirement that you talk about, or the friend that you spoke of, we have to grieve the people we used to be, because you don't get to be that person anymore. And so there is this grief of who you were, but there is also an incredible power that comes in that new version of yourself. If you can find it and you can look at it and really put it in your life, it's incredible what you can do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. And matter of fact, it took Mary's watching down. She'll be happy to know it took 2 people to replace her. So I ended up having to get, not that anyone can replace her, but
Right.
I ended up getting myself a daily accountability partner. And then I had also a weekly one. And, there were some things that, like you said, the person that you are, that I could talk to her about, that I still only dance and tiptoe around with other people, because
Yeah.
some relationships you can talk about anything,
Anything.
with no judgment, in the safe place, and laugh and giggle about it. And it's a really wonderful gift. So
It is. It's the gift of being able to, and I certainly found that with my mother. And I was so young that, there's equal great conversations to you're the most annoying person alive. But you realize, looking back on it, is that our ease together was something that I have never found in another human being. And so therefore you do grieve that. But if you take what that gift was and you become that kind of a person, my goal was to say, you know what? I want people to have ease when they speak to me. I want to emulate what she was. And if there's one thing that my friends and a lot of the people around me will say, is, I feel like I can say anything to you and you won't judge me for that.
well,
And that keeps her not here.
No, there's proof, because right before we got on this show, I don't know, Jamie, this is a matter of fact, the first, when I interview people, about 80% of the time, it's the very first time I ever meet them, which to me is exciting and thrilling and amazing. I think gives you out there a better show. So you're welcome. And but this perfect stranger gets on, and let me just tell you about all my woes and what I'm worried about and what's going on. And I talked about my husband and in a lot of ways, and
Some things we won't talk about.
I shared with Jamie, who I didn't know. So
Exactly.
you have achieved your goal. Yay!
Yes.
Good on you.
Yeah, thank you. It is. It's something that I want people to open up and be able to talk. I think it's old-fashioned face-to-face, video-to-video, but not through a computer. Conversation is medicine. Communicating, talking, the people being with other people. Look, I know people can get on your nerves, but it's a part of our lives, and communicating and the power that we have in that is a pretty incredible thing to have.
Well, I think part of it was Maryland girl to Maryland girl, but anyway, that's another
Very
thing.
true. Very true.
So when a corporation says, okay, we need a speaker, we need a workshop, we need an event, we need to have someone come in and talk to our team and our people, here's what we want to achieve, we need to hire a Jamie. Why would they say that?
It's pretty interesting, because they first go, wait, you do what? Because people talk about grief and people talk about power, but very few people have put it together. And so the reason that they come to me is, and what I can sell myself and pitch myself as, is that, everybody wants to be inclusive today. And I've worked in inclusive environments. They are the best ones, for sure. There is a purpose for that, and to understand empathy and to have the type of work environment that's healthy. But a lot of people don't really know how to get there. You can't just put it up on the billboard and say, let's all be inclusive, or let's all just be nice to each other and understand. And what I explain to people is that every living human being on this planet experiences loss and grief in some way. There's the connection. Why are we overlooking it? And I'm not going to corporations saying that everyone should talk about their toughest stories. That's not the part. Your story belongs to you. It's your privacy. But what we're going to pull from that are the lessons that you've learned, the strength that you've gained, the insight that you have. That is what you're going to take into your corporation and build up yourself as a leader and help build up others. So you protect your privacy, but you uncover your professional potential, because inside those stories, inside those difficult times is a lot of power. Don't leave it at home. Don't leave it hidden somewhere. When you're ready, because everybody has to heal, and not everybody's ready right away. And how I don't ever assume anybody else's healing time. But there will come a time that everyone feels a sense of strength coming through that journey of grief. That's the moment where you go into that story, figure out how overcoming that loss has made you grow and has made you stronger. And you take those answers and you take that understanding of who this person is now and go in and get more money, get upward mobility, make better decisions, understand empathy more than you ever have. You can literally monetize your losses. You can actually get upward mobility. I've gotten upward mobility in jobs I didn't even want because I took these strengths and they're like, we want to send you to the top. I'm like, this isn't the job for me. But it's amazing the kind of attention and the professionalism that can come with you when you learn how to take the losses and then become a better decision maker. Understand the lessons from loss make us better risk takers. People go, well, what if you lose? I'm like, well, I think I've lost more than this. I think I can handle this. Like, you start to understand exactly the person that you've become. And so I help people in a corporate setting step a little bit outside of just the book learning and just the podcasts. They're all wonderful and they're all great to have. But there's a lot inside here that people are leaving on the table, and they're leaving at home and going to work. That's what I break through in my speeches.
And how does that help a corporation have a stronger team, or see a return on investment, or see the bottom line grow? Because let's face it, that is a big piece of what corporations are looking for when they're bringing a speaker or a workshop trainer or someone in to their team to enhance the community.
I definitely go along the line of return on investment, because I think that what is wonderful about 2024 is that empathy has now made its way to the forefront. When I started in the workplace, everybody was like, why can't you just be nice to each other? And everybody's like, ugh, I don't want to be nice to everybody. They drive me crazy. And people didn't really understand that empathy is not a transaction. Empathy is an actual trait. It is an ability. And I think that, thank you to science and for people writing about this subject, that from the entry-level position to the CEO, people are starting to understand the importance of what empathy is. And that subject didn't even come up in boardrooms. Now it's the game changer. Now it's what they want as far as return on investment. Because let's be honest, we're all professionals. Moving people is not that easy to do. You know, trying to inspire people is not that easy to do. And yes, you can have a bunch of quotes, and yes, you can say, hey, there's more cookies in the break room. Motivating people is about understanding people. And that's where understanding loss, and that everyone has been through those types of things, and understanding as a leader that it's okay to talk about them. Again, you don't have to tell your personal story or put yourself in a vulnerable position. But I do let them know that having care and understanding that in your business, you can put caring about your staff in front. It's not going to make you look weak. It's not going to make you look as though you don't have control of the situation, which was a big part of the 80s and 90s. Well, you know, you don't want to make it, you want to look tough. You don't want to look, and that is changing.
Yes. It has.
So what you'll see in your teams is that people gravitate towards me, obviously because I speak, but also because I'm not afraid to say, hey, here's what I've learned from my losses. Here's where I can go, and understand that empathy is just understanding someone in one simple moment. You don't even have to be aligned with someone that you are empathetic towards. You don't have to vote the same or have the same favorite color. You just notice them in a moment of something that they are going through. And your return on investment, people will want to follow you if they feel like they're empowered in the situation that they're in. So find ways to do that. Find ways to have people feel like they're part of something. And that is how you get your return on investment, and understanding that some of the hardest times of our life can be how we connect.
Well, and I think one of the return on investments for what you do is when you do invest in a person like that, and you do show them that you care, and you do demonstrate empathy as a leader, and have it present within your teams, and then have the teams have it present within the relations with customers, then what happens is those team members will then begin to work harder for you even when you're not looking. And those customers will then begin to share with everyone they know about your product or service, because those people supporting those customers genuinely gave them a feeling of caring. And that is one of the most motivating, contagious, viral, the kind
It's
the good
contagious.
kind, the good time, the good kind,
The good kind.
viral, the good kind
Not
of
the
viral
massive
energy
kind.
that you want,
Yes.
to spread throughout the world.
It's so funny that you say that, because in my speech, I'm like, empathy is finally a contagion we can all agree on. And we can all agree that it's certainly worth it to have. And I take your point, and it's such an excellent point, because what people want to feel, they don't want to work for a title. They want to work for a person. And people's titles, they're important, and moving up is important. That you can't take that away from people. People want to move up, and they want to be more important, but you can still be a person. The title's going to speak for itself, and the title will actually mean more to people when you mean more to them.
Well, and I also think one of the things that drives people more than we ever realized before, back in the 80s and 90s, is they want to work for a bigger reason. So those missions and visions and all of this have become more powerful than ever before. And also you talked about inspiring people, right? The art, so learning empathy is a skill that you can learn. And then the art of storytelling is a skill that you can learn. So just because you told someone a story didn't mean you did it well, or that anyone else would want to hear that one again. And that's a skill that they're looking for now in the corporate space more than ever before, especially with people who are highly technical and engineering mind. They want people in with those skill sets, but who can also inspire and convey and relate and tell an interesting and engaging story, so that people can actually understand the tech behind it.
Yes.
So that is definitely something that is progressing in the corporate world.
Agreed. And you're right to say that. I mean, when we started, they're like, oh, who cares how you treat them? Just pay them on Fridays. That's all they care about. And people do want to get paid. They absolutely want to be paid. But people also, with as much time as Americans spend at work, and as long as we work, and it is part of our identity. You brought up a great point about people who retire, and I've heard very similar stories, is that we make it part of who we are, which really, if you think about it, is the healthiest way to work. If you're going to do it for a long time, put a piece of yourself in it, not just a paycheck. I've had just a paycheck, and then I've had a job that I feel attached to. And a meaning gives you more of a spirituality into it, not in a religious way, but in just, you feel that run through you, that you have a purpose in what you do.
Mm-hmm. For sure. The other thing I love about your topic is you've taken grief and shown how it can empower and benefit people and teams and corporations even, because everyone does experience grief. I very similarly, it strikes me that I've written a talk, and I've given one for many corporations, on the positive side of fear, because fear is something else. Everyone's been afraid of something in their life, even if it was the dark when they were a little kid. And there is a positive side of fear. And it can do a lot to drive people to want to achieve things, to want to avoid failure. I have, when you do something new and you're learning something new, it's very applicable in the corporate space. For example, I made this commitment to my friends' community to design and build this course. And now I am driven because I want to be sure it is the very best course possible, because I'm doing it for this person who, means so much to me. And so there's that twinge of fear that drives me, that says, okay, you want this to be good. You want it to
Don't
be
fail.
That's right. You want it to be new stuff. You want it to be good stuff. So I'm learning new. So that fear has driven me to learn new things, to research more, to stretch myself.
Yes.
Quicker and a more condensed time frame with a timeline and a deadline than I ever would have before.
Well, you bring up an excellent part, and which is part of my talk, is that what is so fascinating is risk taking. So everybody's like, oh, right away, my audience. And I'm like, I see everybody looking down. I'm like, we're not going to hang from the ceiling. Well, maybe. But what people don't understand is, if we have time, is that the strengths, there are natural risk takers. And then there are people overcoming loss. Natural risk takers, the strengths that they have parallel very closely to the strengths that people gain as they overcome loss. One is comfortable being uncomfortable. People put themselves in riskier situations because they're uncomfortable. After you go through a really difficult time in your life, I mentioned I was 13 when I lost my best friend. I had to go back to middle school. Kids I'm still afraid of, if we're being completely honest. So,
middle
you'll
schoolers
do
the scariest.
Nothing is scarier than a 13-year-old. No. And so now, if you really think about in your life, what people do as they take risks, think about what you've been through, and don't underestimate how uncomfortable that feeling can be when you put yourself, when you feel like you're doing well in your job, go ask for a raise. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Yes. Are you 13 again? No. You can do this. It's a number. And, less fear of loss and loss and failure. Something else that risk takers have. You'd be amazed how much less fear you have in life after you've gotten over the fear of what grief brings you. And it really can test you in ways that you can walk in and negotiate better for yourself. And it's not too many dots that people put together.
Yeah, because if I can get through this, I can do this easy peasy, right?
For sure. Everybody's like, you're going to do stand-up. What if you bomb? I'm like, well, it's really not that bad. I mean
what's going to happen? They don't throw knives or anything. I don't think they throw knives. Do they throw knives?
No, not really. No, they don't. They'll just handle you. I can handle that.
I know, right? Me too. How scary can it be?
How scary can it be? They're drunk. You know what I mean?
Well, there you go. You wouldn't know. Funny if it was at the bottom of your glass.
Keep drinking.
That's right. Maybe you'll find it.
Find it.
So give us a tip. We've really kind of gone into what you provide and your return on investment.
Yes.
And the customers we're working with. Give us a tip that will improve everyone's life today.
So I think that what you need to remember is that we all grieve differently. But everyone that you come across in your life, you will have loss that lasts a lifetime, grief that lasts a lifetime, and you'll have grief for just a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. But remember that it is significant to you. And at first, what you're going to do is you're going to take that experience and you're going to put it somewhere safe. And that is exactly what you should do, because you protect yourself. You protect the healing process. You want to protect the person you've lost. There's always a weird protection of that, if that's the grief, because there's different types. It could be a divorce. It could be pet loss. It could be anything that's significant to you. But as you start to heal and you start to absorb what you've gone through, and that step starts, and you start to put one foot in front of the other, and you're starting to feel strong again, reach into that story. Reach into that place. Leave the personal. Leave the part that hurts you. Get the support that you need for that. But pull out what you've learned. Sit down and think about, have you ever heard the term, there's no guarantees in life? Well, I'm going to give you one. There is a 100% chance that loss is going to change your perspective. Mm-hmm. When it does, and when you're ready, figure out how you're stronger, how you're different, and maybe how you grow isn't all sunshine and butterflies. I grew in some kind of stealth ways. Mm-hmm. I kind of grew in some, mischievous kind of ways. It doesn't mean that it's all, well, I'm stronger and I'm better. I'm a little less patient, which I'm careful with, but it's also helped me speed up a little in my life and not really sweat the small stuff anymore. Mm-hmm. Take those lessons, take them in to your life, go out there and become the leader of your life. That doesn't mean you're going to be a CEO that sits in a boardroom. Be the leader of your faith life, be the leader of your family life. Just feel like you have control over who you are again, not just for yourself, but to also give homage to what you've been through. If you want someone that you've lost to live longer, if you want their life to be worth it, make yours worth it. Yeah. And those answers are in there.
Yeah, because you're still here. You are still here.
Yes.
So if you have experienced a kind of loss and you're watching and you would love to share a tip on how you got to the other side, we would love for you to put that in the comments. This is a great time to press share because you just don't know who out there in the world could really need to hear this message. And also because we're getting to the good part of sharing our causes. So you, just by hitting share, might inspire someone to give time, treasure, or talent to a cause that we share today, one that you type in the chat, or just decide to inspire them to do something good as we talk about the cause that is close to our guest's heart. So Jamie, talk about the cause that's close to your heart.
Well, yes, as I mentioned, for me, it's been a life of losing powerful women. And my mother it was the 90s when my mother passed. And what I found fascinating at the time, that I find still fascinating to this day in 2024, is that still the majority of medical research that is done on the human bodies is done on men. And then those results are given to men and women. So I really have a cause for women's health, a better understanding of women's health, women being able to talk about their health and how it's different, and making sure that the medical community does testing on both sexes. It's astounding to me that the body that actually carries the life is the one that has less research in it. So I am very passionate about making sure that when you go to your doctor, women that are watching this, ask questions. No, ask questions about your health. Make sure that they're not just like, oh, are you okay? How are you feeling? And walk out. It's okay. Ask questions about your health, read about your health. And we need to, as women, step up and say, we need research based on who we are. We need a better chance at life. For heart attacks, which was obviously my mother's cause of death, the cancer for my sister, the cancer on the rise in women for endometrial type cancers are through the roof in this country. So my cause is making sure that women's health becomes a priority.
I love that. I love that. So hit that share button. And here's a perfect time for me to give my brief disclaimer. I am the Italian mother of 7, as you know, but I am not your mama. And I am not giving you medical, legal, or financial advice. We are just sharing with you what has worked with us. And if you are experiencing a loss and you have grief or depression, please seek medical support, help, and guidance from a professional in your community, because you know what, that is the best way to take your first step. So we want you all to have the care that you need from medical and professionals. So reach out to professionals for all things. And thank you for sharing that, Jamie. It is an awesome cause. And here it is. Here we go. Get your fingers ready again. We need you to type the book that has inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business. Put those books in there. Tell us why you love them. Tell us the authors. And if you're the author, even better, share that with us. And don't forget to hit the share button, because if you share it out, then we'll be promoting you and your book too, and the things that matter to you. So Jamie, tell us, because we are building the ultimate book list of all the guests that have come. There'll be a directory of those available. As soon as our team can get it all together, we are working really hard on that. So this is a big book list, but we want to know a book that inspired your personal life or helps you grow your business.
So for me, it was my personal life, and I read it years ago. It was the New York Times bestseller, and it's called Motherless Daughters. And it was such an incredible book for me, because it wasn't even about the fact, I mean, honestly, men could read this book. It's so amazing. I know it seems like it would just be for females, because the woman in this book, this incredible author, Hope Edelman, finally made me understand something that was incredibly difficult, but also freeing for me, is that she was much older when she wrote the book and talked about how she realized and understood and walked us through the fact that it was going to be a grief that she had forever. Because when I was younger, you have the idea of, okay, well, I'm going to get around this from, it's going to be here for a while, but eventually I'm going to, get back on it. And it helped me let go of any sort of deadline that I felt like I had to meet. Mm-hmm. And then I was able to connect the dots between grief and life, and then meet those moments and start to move through my life and understand that it's perfectly fine, that it's going to be there forever. And so this was a very big help to me that was given to me by my sister.
That's fascinating, because I have to tell you, with all the losses, my father-in-law, my grandparents, my grandmother, my best friend, losses I experienced early as a child as well, I somehow instinctively had peace that I was going to grieve this person for all my days. However, the way I grieve them is differently. Like
it's so different.
Now,
is it amazing?
Right now, I have a picture in the hallway of Sherry that I see every time I walk through it to get to my bedroom, and I almost talk to her. And
good.
Funny enough, well, I do talk to her, but funny enough, I still dream about the people that have passed. So they come and visit me, and I have dreams. And it's a very, it's not a earth-shaking grief. It's I'm sad that they're really still not here on the planet, but I'm joyful that they're still a
the
part
connection.
Of
yes,
I still have them as part of my life.
Bittersweet. I dream as well. Mm-hmm. Listen, and I also, hear my mother when I do something, and I'm like, oh, she wouldn't be very proud of that, would she?
Or she would, or all the things she would be proud of. There's that side of it too.
There is that side of the coin. Yes.
Oh, that's funny. So, talking about books and authors, if you're an author, I already told you, get that book in the comments. But Jamie, are you on a journey to have that added to your introduction sentence?
I am. It has been, so I have one chapter left, and it has been so amazing and so humbling. And it's to really sort of, because for people that want to write a book, at least for me, it's always kind of in the back of my mind, for years and years and years. And I'm like, yeah. And then I really sat down and started writing. And some days you're like, this is amazing. And some days I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever written in my life. And it's focusing, and it's a little bit my story. Obviously, I include my story in it, but I also talk about a lot of what's in my speeches, which is taking that power and using it. And I'm almost to the point where I want to start to hand it over to an editor and see how that goes. I think I've settled on the title "Betting on Better," and it's inspirational, but it's also actionable. I want to be, for people, as I said much in my speeches, to be able to put their grief to work a little bit for themselves and be able to feel like there's a purpose in it. So stay tuned. I have that one last chapter that it's always so hard at the end. It's like you're just trying to figure out like how
last push of the birthing process. I gotcha. I had a lot of kids, remember?
You're a pro.
I know.
Yes, so I'm very excited.
I feel you. I build courses and workbooks, and I've been featured in a book. But I produced a song that's going to be released soon. And,
good for you.
But I have like so many books that I want to write that are coming. So
really, my fear is that I'm going to be like a one and done is my fear, because I don't know. It's just kind of weird. I love it, but it's kind of like, wow.
I had a dream. There's a great speech that starts that way.
There is a great speech.
Wait a minute, I'm not stealing that line. This is true. I dreamt recently. Let me start that over.
Okay, that's better.
No
that's
negative
better.
comments. And I love Martin Luther King, and I love his speech. I respect it, revere it. It is a model for me. So that I wasn't making fun of him. Correct. I was just caught myself and said, wait, that sounds familiar. Okay. So anyway, I dreamt 2 different book series in the same dream. So like I started dreaming about this, and I had the details, and I had the main story and all the series that come with it. And then I started dreaming about this other thing, and at the same night, and I woke up with it all still. And I have my accountability partner. I called and I told her, and then I called my weekly one, and I called her, and everyone I've talked to is like, you have to write these books.
And you're like, wait.
Yeah. So I never thought that was going to be the case. I thought I'd have a few sales and marketing. These are books that are really, so now can say I'm going to be writing both fiction and nonfiction. And I thought I would write a children's book because I've always had that
Yes.
just didn't get out there. I already know the name of that book. It's Millie, the Butterfly Who Wasn't. So that's a story I've already written as a small child, and I want to develop
great.
a children's book, but it's always been on the back burner, kind of, I'll get to that. But now I have things that are very important for me to write in both of the nonfiction and fiction categories. So
it's interesting though, because I just did a speech for Head Start California, and I was so nervous going in because I obviously speak to the educators and the people that are in the room, but they work with such incredibly young, children, and they are going through so much that I have thought about a workbook / coloring book for very young kids. I mean, I'm talking these kids are, 18 months to 6 years old, in very difficult situations. And so that was something that I thought, I might actually do to sort of help them perhaps have an interactive type workbook that they could start to write things down with. That was sort of inspired from that speech. So
I don't know how much trouble I'll get for this, but I do have a daughter who actually did release a book, and it was from a loss that she had
good
from a child. So that was I'm pretty proud and impressed with her. And then my 13-year-old has been featured in 4 compilation books with other writers. And she actually this year for my husband's birthday wrote a dedication page and wrote a short story, and that was her gift to her father. So
that's amazing.
So that was a great experience. And so writers happening all over the place. So if you're out there thinking, wait, I'm an author, or I can help improve people's lives or grow their businesses, and you'd like to be on our podcast, then reach out to us and my team will tell you how to get on the show. And we're wrapping this up, but before we let you go, Jamie,
yes,
can you share with us a final thought, a piece of information or inspiration to tell everybody out there as we say goodbye?
Well, I think that my one inspiration is, I think I may have already said it, so forgive me if I repeat myself, is that I have had a life myself of a lot of laughter and a lot of loss. And I think that remember that you will always be balancing those two things. And it's just, it's okay. I think that when things are good and you feel like everything in your life, I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm a little afraid. When's the other shoe going to drop? Find your joy. And when you do find the joy in your life, really celebrate it. And if there's really nothing that's in your life that's going wrong, celebrate the joys, because we do know that there's the balance between obviously loss and life. And we're always going to be connecting those dots. And there is something around the corner that's going to happen. But in the moments that it's not, I have had, with someone with the amount of loss that I have also experienced pure joy. So when it comes into your life, manifest it. And really enjoy that moment, because you're going to need those moments in other times. You're going to need to recall that joy in other times. So it's okay to lose, and it's okay to be unadulteratedly happy. That's my wisdom for people today.
I love that. And, I don't usually talk about my spirituality very much here on the show, or even my business. But you even know what I do? Yes, you do.
Yes.
You've been following me for a very long time out there, so you know what I do. But I was raised very religious and have matured more spiritual over my years. But when I was very young, I had some really powerfully challenging experiences and trauma. And I'll never forget reading in the Bible a space where the disciples were in prison and they chose to be joyous and happy. And that was a life-changing moment for me, because I never let that leave my mind. And for all my years, in all my things and in all circumstances, especially when it's most hard, I remind myself to choose joy, and
Yes.
ask myself, how can I choose joy in this moment?
Correct.
How can I choose joy? And I find a way to choose joy, and I love that.
That's a wonderful thing. And even if you can't choose it at that moment, just remember that you've had joyous moments, so you can cocoon yourself in those for a minute, and you can remember a better time. Because I think a lot of people have a hard time or feel guilty about just taking in pure joy. Don't.
No.
Take in pure joy and have it, because everyone deserves it.
They do. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, the other thing that, you're right. Even if they can't choose joy in that moment, the other thing that's helped me is this too shall pass. That's how I got into teenagehood with all my children. This too.
This too shall pass. I know how to do this by now.
Because when they come out later, I tell you, they're wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Then they're teenagers. And then they get into their 20s, a little better, and then they start to hit their mid-20s and 30s, and then it's like, who are you, and where have you been? It's so nice.
Why are you so cool?
I love you. Yeah, let's hang out. Let's go on vacation together. Let's go do that. And we're doing all these things, and it's a complete turnaround.
Yes. And do you remember doing that to your parents? I remember coming back from college and being like, you guys are so much better than I remember. You guys have really learned a lot. They're like, no, you guys really, I mean, I got to be honest with you. You guys like 10 years ago were super annoying, but I don't know. You got a lot cooler, and I just had a conversation with my girlfriend. Actually, her parents are in Europe. I'm like, when did all of our parents just become cooler than all of us put together? I'm like, they're all living their best life, and it's insane. So yes, I do understand the stages that we go through.
I love that. Well, I hope you've loved being on this show as much as I've loved having you, Jamie. You've been
you are wonderful at what you do. You've made me feel very comfortable here today.
Yay! And all of you out there, we love you. We thank you for watching. We thank you for sharing. We really want you to be on the show. If you feel like you're a great fit, reach out to us. This is the show that features industry experts from all over the world. We're called Profound Professionals, and I am your host, Jessica Koch. And until the next one, be kind to yourself out there and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.